fellow peoples from the interwebs. It is me, Melody, as per usual. Welcome to another episode of the college course. Today's episode, what college is for you? So today we're really going to delve into how to look for colleges, what you should be looking for, the different types of things to look for, how to create a list, and what to do with that list. Everything that we're going to be covering is right here on the side of the whiteboard today. Alrighty, so if you're starting the application process from the beginning, looking for additional schools to add to your list, a parent helping their child look, or, a fellow procrastinated like yours truly, then this is perfect for you. Alrighty, let's get started. So we're going to begin with a bunch of different resources that I have compiled for you guys to look at. So these resources are going to be quizzes, books, texts, things like that you can use to really give yourself a better idea of the kind of college that you're looking for and the types of schools there are out there, because as many schools as I know personally, there are thousands that I've never even heard of. So a bunch of resources that I found, some of them are free, some of them are not, and the links and resources should be in the description below, so always feel free to check that out. So the FISC Guide to College, this is my personal favorite, and it's the one that I use to look towards all of my colleges. The Princeton Review, 385 Best Colleges, Colleges Worth Your Money. The College Solution, Where You Go Is Not Who You'll Be. That's by Frank Brunei. I read that one for school. It's not my personal favorite, and it's more of a type of book that if you're not super into college and you're trying to straddle whether or not you want it, it can be very helpful to help you decide. But if you already know that you are definitely applying to colleges, I would not buy that one. So some common quizzes that you can take: the Princeton Review, Niche, Forbes, and the College Board. They all have different quizzes, and there's one on Naviance that you can also do if your school uses Naviance. Now there are some options outside of college if college really isn't for you. There's any branch of the military for whatever country that you're in. There's a gap year, there's internships, and then you can go directly into work or any trade that you wish. So these are options that I definitely believe that everybody should explore, whether or not you're 100% sure you're going to college or not. Remember that you can always take a look, and if something really does interest you, it might be for your benefit to take a gap year or an internship year and then jump into college. Alrighty, so now, how do we fit actual colleges into our personalities? So we're going to start with what fits your ambitions. There's majors, minors, how many people from your school or the school that you're looking at get into graduate programs of your choice, 5, 6, 7, and 8-year programs, and specific extracurriculars or offers. The University of Chicago, the school that I'm going to, has the Metcalf internship program where students that get any internship during college will be paid for their work and time. So different programs like that could be a reason that you apply to a school. Then there's the types of schools themselves. So there's a campus, big versus small, city versus rural, things of that nature. Climate is something to take into consideration. Whether or not the school is more vigorous or more relaxed. Greek life falls into the social life category, and whether or not a school has that may affect your decisions. Distance from home is a really big one, and I know it's one that a lot of parents feel strongly about, so remember to always take that into consideration. Specialties within schools, so engineering or nursing schools, things of that nature. Sports, if you're an athlete and you want to do sports in college or perhaps go into a career in sports, that's something to look at as well. If you want a single-sex college or a religious school or an art school, or a specialized mission college, that's also something that you can look into. So make sure that you take note of what your specific priorities are. There are for-profit schools, 2 or 4-year schools, and liberal arts colleges. Liberal arts means that you study a variety of subjects beyond what just your major is. So the majority of schools are just liberal arts colleges. You usually won't see something that isn't, but just so you know what it is, it's just going beyond your major and studying things beyond the scope of whatever it is that you intended to study in college. So there are some other factors as well. Prestige and current connections. So these are 2 that a lot of people will tell you are the most important when deciding which colleges to apply to, but they really genuinely aren't. Unless you have 60 members of your family that have all gone to the same school, do not apply to schools based on where your family members have gone. Unless you love the school, it should be for you. Same with prestige. You can get a good job based on whatever you do and wherever you go. So don't pick a school based off prestige alone. Alrighty, so for international students, there are different requirements for the US oftentimes compared to schools in whatever country that you are from. So make sure that you understand the differences in those requirements, and especially if they require different courses to be taken from high schools and things like that. So make sure you keep that in mind when you're searching for schools. And then pricing is very different. I know in the UK, you can charge a maximum of $14.5K per year for school. In the US, that is not the case. You can charge dozens of thousands of dollars per year of school. I know the University of Chicago is charging approximately $81,000 with no scholarships. And that includes room and board, so just make sure that you are aware of pricing. Alrighty, everyone's least favorite part of the college process, the list. So this is something that a lot of people dread, and I know there's a lot of stigma around the list. And what do you put on, what don't you put on, how many colleges should you have on, when should you make the list, when is your list supposed to be finalized, and there's just a lot of anxiety going on with that. So the first thing to do is start with schools you already know you like. So for those that have had a specific school in mind for years, just sit down, write it down, and then ask yourself, why this school? Which is a silly question to ask when you're writing down your list, but it's an important question to ask. So write down 5 reasons. Why is this your top school? And if those reasons match with other schools, then you might need to dig a little deeper into why is it that school, or is it just something that you were excited by when you were younger and kind of stuck with? Alrighty, so if you don't know any schools that you already like, do not worry at all. That is completely and totally normal. If you have no idea what you are doing, nobody does. Even if you've loved a school for 10 years, nobody knows what they're doing. So this is why the list is super duper helpful. So start with resources, see what kinds of schools you might like, write out your priorities, and see what kinds of schools match. My recommendation is to get a piece of paper or a notebook or something that you can split into 3 columns and write must have, nice to have, and doesn't matter. So these are the factors that your school should match. So based on the must-haves, obviously, if your schools that you're looking at do not have them, cross them off. You won't put them on your list. Things like that, and then try and match as most as possible. So if a school, has a lot of factors that in the don't matter or the medium, which is just a nice to have but doesn't have that must have, remember that those must haves are important to you for a reason, and that'll narrow down your list a lot. What I found is a good starting list is 10 to 20 schools. You can absolutely have more, but please know that this is a lot of schools. You will most likely not be applying to this many schools. So these are just schools that you have a vested interest in, and they all have your must-haves. This does not include any research that you have done on the schools besides the must-haves and trying to match up with your nice-to-haves. So within the list, you're now going to, once you have your list of 10 to 20 schools, you're going to break them down into reach schools, target schools, and safety schools. Reach schools are schools with a much lower acceptance rate and are harder to get into. These are often called the dream schools, so do not be afraid if your dream school is not in this category. A dream school can be whatever school fits you best. Target schools. There's schools that accept candidates with your level of academics, test scores, interests, and extracurriculars, so something that seems like a very good fit on paper. Then there's safety schools, which is a school that almost always accepts students with your scores, one that you can fairly easily get into. This is known as the quote-unquote backup school. So have a mix of all 3. My recommendation is 4 to 5 of each, but remember that you should put any schools on the list that you actually want to look at or look more into. This is not a finalized thing. You can take off all the schools and add an entirely new list. So this is just for you. My recommendation is that you start this list your sophomore year, at any time in the sophomore year. preferably in the beginning, but it can be any time in the sophomore year. So once this list is done, you're going to research at least 45 minutes into each and every school. You'll spend a large amount of time at whatever school you go to, so this research is really worth the time. At the end of the research, look at all of your schools and rank them based on your favorites. Cross out a few schools that you aren't super passionate about, some of the last ones on your list that aren't necessary to have. That does not mean cross out all of your safety schools. You should still have safety schools. So your goal is to have 8 to 13 schools left on the list after this, 3 to 4 of each type. So there will be more whittling down the list in the next video. So do not be discouraged if you have 13 schools and you're like, I only want to apply to 7. Do not be discouraged. And of course, if there's anything specific that you want to see, leave a like, drop a comment, and I'll do my best to answer whatever questions that you have. And if there's a question that I cannot answer and nobody around me can answer, I will personally find someone who knows the answer to them. Alrighty, so for more amazing videos by students for students, check out the eCoreAcademy webpage. And peep the merch, that's right. Our awesome co-founders, Anita and AJ, just came out with some merch. I don't know if it'll be out for sale yet, but it's absolutely amazing and it's super duper comfy. I'm currently wearing the medium, so that's what it really looks like. So that's really all I have for today's episode. So bye for now. Have a fantastic and productive day.